Friends, I hope you're excited. I am so excited for this video. We're going to be talking about the results of my event, and oh my gosh, I'm just excited. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. So excited for this video. Though before we even started, I have to say thank you. Thank you. This event would not have been a success without you friends. So thank you so very much to everybody who voted in every round, who voted maybe just in one round, who shared about it. Truly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really love this event because I feel like it is a really great opportunity for me to try things that maybe I would have not tried otherwise unless they had won. So it makes me really excited to see, sometimes nervous when I see some of the titles on there, but excited at the same time to see what am I going to be reading, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. It was a whirlwind. I have so many numbers. I really hope that I can break down everything that happened, like all the voting that went down, because some things were like super winning and other things like came ahead, and it was just a really surreal and exciting time on my end. I feel like I should maybe be a little more transparent about that during the actual voting so people can see like, hey, your vote's counting, your votes matter, and here's sort of what's happening without giving like all the spoilers, you know what I mean? But before we go ahead and start off everything, I have my predictions. So I'm gonna tell you my predictions at the beginning because I feel like in last year's video, I forgot to say it until like the end. So I had 3 predictions and 1 honorable mention, and it was in no certain order, but I said In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, Otoku Vampire's Love Bite, and Firefly Wedding. My honorable mention were digitals, and I struggled between You're My Cutie and Ron the Peerless Beauty. Last year, Ron the Peerless Beauty made it to the top. I think I did 8, and I was so very excited that it had gotten so far, and so I was like, well, hopefully that will be the case for this time around. I really felt like with the hype and the love for In the Clear Moonlit Dusk and Firefly Wedding, I felt both of them would do really well, and I chose Otoku Vampire's Love Bite mainly because I just really love the series, and I felt it could do good. I really struggled between a lot of these picks, and let's just go ahead and dive in. That's a perfect opportunity. So I have my laptop here, and I'm just gonna give you guys the big screen, and my face will be in the corner. We had 40 different titles that were up for voting. Thank you so much to everybody who gave so many recommendations last year during the 25 Days of Shoujo Manga. I did a forum this past year, and if you like submitted to the forum or in the forum, however you want to say it, you got a free Yawn of the Dawn digital print that was made by the wonderful Pippa at Strawberry Shoujo. Follow her on Instagram. She's fantastic, has a lot of great content and just really pretty photos. But I didn't know what the easiest way was, but we got several. I mean, I wasn't even able to put everything on this forum because some series were shonen or some other demographic, or my library didn't have it, or there was no way for me to read it digitally, say like on K-Manga or on Manga Plus, or okay, not Manga Plus, but on Comic-Key, for example. Yeah, 40 different titles, and we had so much diversity. I really love seeing that diversity just shine here because so many of us know in the shoujo community, like shoujo is not just romance. And I feel like Laughing Under the Clouds, Rose King, Natsumi's Book of Friends, Pet Shop of Horrors, that they show that there's sometimes, not all these are like on the darker side, but there's darker shoujo manga, and that it's not just purely romance, and some of those don't even have romance, period. And so I was excited to see that. Also some classics like Love Calm and Kami-sama Kiss, plenty of digital manga like Ron the Peerless Beauty, My Boyfriend in Orange, You're My Cutie, When We're in Love, and I loved how we had a cat manga this time around. Unfortunately, it didn't do as high as I was hoping, and then we definitely had Magical Girl. We had Magical Girl Dandelion and Sailor Moon, and I was just so excited. Thank you again for everybody who voted. In this first round, we had 88 votes. Now, I'm gonna tell you, before I show you the chart here, it may look overwhelming, and I do apologize. I'm gonna try and break it down to the best of my ability, but take all the time you need for you to pause and then like look at it to comprehend it. I 100% get it because I'm the same way. I will say before we go into it that you're gonna see the title on the left, and then all the way to the right, you're going to see the number of votes that were for each manga. So just as an FYI, and so let's go ahead here and see round 1 results. Now, when we look just at a quick glance, you can see there were some titles that were really small, and I was so bummed that the cat manga had the least amount of votes. I was shocked though, for the second least amount of votes was Sailor Moon. For how many people I feel like I have asked or requested or said that I should read and review this series, I really expected Sailor Moon to do so much better. I was completely caught off guard that it was at the bottom of the least voted amount. Again, I didn't didn't expect that. I was surprised to see My Boyfriend in Orange as well as My Girlfriend's Child be near the end, especially My Girlfriend's Child, because there's a lot of love for that series, and I don't really know why it didn't do, I guess you would say, better or get more votes. I honestly thought that it would, but I'm not too worried about that. I guess it wasn't too low on the chart. Don't worry, the next graph I show will show which manga that made it to the next round and which manga didn't, so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm just showing you the overall view. I really love, though, that You're My Cutie had 32 votes, was so high up there, and honestly, in the second half of round one, Ron the Peerless Beauty did really well. Like, in the beginning, it wasn't getting that many votes, and it was honestly surreal because I opened voting early for Patreon and channel members and just for a few friends online. I honestly thought in the Clear Moonlit Dusk and Natsumi Book of Friends, which were tied for first place in the beginning, that it was going to be like the precursor or the foreshadowing that it was going to continue to do really well in round one. And I mean, obviously it did. The votes show that it really did. But when you look at the winning numbers here, Nina the Starry Bride is in first place. And that's what was really wild to me. When Nina finally got that first place lead, she took off and there was no stopping her. I mean, Kami-sama Kiss in the very early, we'll say the first 50, 30-ish votes or so, Kami-sama Kiss was in first place. I came back to check like later the next day and I was like, whoa, Nina the Starry Bride is the one that is trailblazing, and she kept up that lead the entire time. But Kami-sama Kiss, when it got those, I mean, it came in second place, was behind by one vote. I really just sort of felt that Kami-sama Kiss was right there on Nina's tail for the rest of the round one, and there was just nobody could make a comeback the same way I guess that Nina did, in the sense she didn't have that many votes. I think maybe in the beginning she had, like in the very beginning, she had just 2 or 3. Honestly, when I saw how she won this round, I was like, Laura, you should have put that on your predictions, because I had wrestled with it because I know a lot of friends that really love it, and honestly I was very curious to see if I am still Team Azor, because I've seen things about Team Set and I'm like, I could see myself going that way, but right now I'm still Team Azor. But for third place, it was Firefly Wedding. I was not surprised by that at all because I know there's a lot of love for this series as well. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if eventually we do get news of an anime adaptation. But unfortunately, out of all of these manga here, only 20 could move forward, and here is using the images because I feel like it's a little bit easier, and then we'll look at the chart again. Here are the top 20 most voted series that made it. Again, I was really excited that You're My Cutie and Ron the Peerless Beauty that they came. And Magical Girl Downline, I didn't even mention, I was so excited that it made it to the next round because that is one manga I was really hoping. Now, I'm surprised that nobody actually asked me and said, Laura, why did you have josei manga in here when it's a shoujo event? I told Patreon and channel members that, to a degree, that any shoujosei that they had pitched or said I want this in the event, I did everything in my power to make sure it was. And so there were 2 josei picks, and that was What He Who Says Doesn't Believe in Fate Says. I hope I said that title right. And then My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. Both of those are josei manga, and I was very surprised to see that the 90s Otaku manga, that it made it to the next round, because I feel like that's a really underrated series, but I was really excited to actually know somebody picked it up and gave it a try, and they absolutely loved it. But let's look at the graph chart here, and so you can see the light pink is the manga that did not make it to the next round. I was so hoping Condemned Villainous would win. I also was really hoping that the Observation Log that just got an anime announcement we talked about last week in the manga news video, I wanted both of these to make it, but as I've said more than once, I'm gonna have a Villainous theme event. Not sure when just yet, but it will be coming because I want to read both of these. I know several friends that love Condemned Villainous, and then the Observation Log, I feel like it's one of those villainous manga, if somebody's not really a big villainous manga reader, that they still really love this one. Like, there's just a lot of really sweet things that have been said about it, so I want in on that. So I was bummed that, yeah, that they didn't quite make it, unfortunately. Mr. Bride, I felt did really well. I mean, it came in with 20 votes, so it was almost there. It was almost there. Doing his best to confess. Shout out to the person that recommended this. I read volume 1 a long time ago, and I was hoping that it would go a little bit further, but as you can see here, round 2 is stacked with 20 amazing manga. In this round, we had a little bit lesser votes. We had 76 votes in total for this round, and man, the struggle bus felt real to me, just looking to see what people are going to vote for it. And I do feel like it's a little bit harder at this point because it's now like you can't just vote for everything. I mean, you could, but if you really want your faves to move forward, you have to start being a little bit picky or a little bit more choosy. You know what I mean? And I do think maybe that sort of is what happened because let's look at the results here. Coming in first place, to nobody's surprise, is Firefly Wedding. But second place, I was shook, Otaku Vampire's Love Bite. And yes, from the early part of this round, Firefly Wedding and Otaku Vampire's Love Bite were tied several times. I honestly was scared we were gonna have a tiebreaker. I mean, it came down to one vote. There was never a time where like one pulled weight ahead. No, it'd be like they were evenly tied. Maybe one is like 2 votes ahead and then the other one would come back. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect Otaku Vampire's Love Bite to do as well. I mean, obviously it was not my prediction, so I was hoping, but I was really happy to see that it made second place. Here's the thing is, you know, with Nina the Starry Bride trailblazing in the first round, I was shocked that it came in third place for round 2. I wouldn't say it struggled per se because it had a pretty actually strong lead in the very beginning, but then Magical Girl Dandelion was tying around with it a little bit for probably around like 50 votes, and I was like, oh my goodness, and Magical Girl Dandelion was really on Nina's tail. She was not giving up this time, and I was really excited that she was not, that there were people voting for it. As you can see, it came in with a total of 31 votes, and In the Clear Moonlit Dusk was the most shocking result to me for this round because I sort of pushed this manga, I feel like maybe a little bit too much. And I don't know if that's just in light because there was a lot of negativity around this time on Twitter. I was mentioning on Instagram that for the early part of round 2, it was not even in the top 10 most voted series, and only the top 10 from round 2 could go on to the third and final round. And I was shook by that. There was a time I was like, is it not going to make it? And that was just not something I could even see for this series when I really did think that it was probably going to come in first place for this event. Like that was my first prediction. I mean, I think, is that the one? Yeah, that was the first one I put on my list that I felt very confident in. So to see that confidence shaken in the beginning of round 2 was not something that I had predicted at all. Natsume's Book of Friends and Kami-sama Kiss were still way up there. You can still see that they're getting a lot of votes. They're getting a lot of love. And honestly, I feel like the numbers overall were just really close for this round. We may have not gotten as many votes as we did compared to round 1, and round 3 had so much more than both. But I felt like it was just sort of anybody's game to a degree. I mean, Hanakimi and The Water Dragon's Bride didn't hit 20 votes, so I mean, they were further behind, but I was still really happy to see a lot of votes for them as well. And Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me, I felt like it was the wild card in this event, honestly, especially for this. I did not see that coming to be tied for 4th place with 30 votes. If somebody would have told me that it was going to be, I mean, I was not following it closely in the first round, so I can't really say how it was doing there. Obviously it did well because it made it to round 2, but I mean, like somebody, I had shared how the voting was going in a Discord server, and I think she really made a great point that many of these have an anime. And so Reliving My Life here felt, again, like the wild card because it doesn't have an anime, and it's only 3 volumes right now, and it still feels a little bit maybe underrated to these other series that have so much more hype and so much attention and time. But thankfully for everybody who voted for it, it did make it to the third and final round. The top 10 most voted made it, leaving us with these manga here. I was very excited to see In the Name of the Mermaid Princess moving forward. I've loved every volume of this series. It has just been a gem to read. I do not feel shocked at all, really, except for Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. Well, Magical Girl Dandelion, I was a little bit shocked too, I think. But like Kami-sama Kiss, Oron, Natsume Book of Friends, Nina, and Moonlit Dusk, those all feel very big. And I was prepared for those to be in the top like they are right now. And I have been bracing myself. I was like, Laura, you're going to be reading a long series. You're going to be reading a long series. And I was like, well, we're just going to take it one round at a time. And here is the graph chart seeing the votes of the light pink are the titles. Unfortunately didn't make it. I really hope at one point that Kitchen Princess will win. This is literally literally the third year. This is the third time I've hosted this event. And it's the third time it has been in this event and has makes it to the end of round 2, but doesn't make it onto the third round. And I'm hoping eventually. But let's talk about that third and final round. These are the top 10 most voted series that have made it through the first 2 rounds. Y'all, I should have asked at the beginning and leave your predictions of who you think is going to win, because this is such an incredible lineup to me to see these manga. I mean, I know I already mentioned that, but it's just seeing them all like this, I'm like, wow. And let me tell you, before we go look at the graph chart, let me tell you, this round of voting was chaos. And I thought I knew what was gonna win, and it was like, no, I don't know what's gonna win, because we had 156 votes. It was surreal because Magical Girl Dandelion, Firefly Wedding, and Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. Do you know how many times they tied for first place? I mean, we had almost 50 votes, and those 3 are tied for first place. And I was like, okay. But there was a brief time in the beginning where Nina the Starry Bride was in first place and was beating them at one point, but then Reliving My Life, Firefly Wedding, they got that lead, and for over half the week, or at least for half the week, they were tied for first or be like 1 vote ahead of the other. But then something happened. Somebody shared about Magical Girl Dandelion, because after that, it was like Magical Girl Dandelion was roughly, we'll say about 3rd, 4th place. It pulled ahead to first place, was tied on and off with 2nd and 3rd, and it just kept going back and forth. I was like, oh my goodness. I don't know who shared about it. I mean, I know one person that did, but I don't know if other people shared about it. And I was just like, there was some Magical Girl Dandelion fans that came out and they're like, we are pushing Magical Girl Dandelion to the top. And just after that, as you can see with these results here, it just kept going, and nobody could really make quite that comeback to get there. Nina the Starry Bride, you can see, was really trying. Otoku Vampire's Love Bite was also trying. And then Kami-sama Kiss. These were the only 3 series that were really trying to get and pull into those top 3, but they just couldn't quite do it. So if we look at the 3 manga I'm going to be reading this summer, first place, Firefly Wedding. 2nd place, Magical Girl Dandelion. And 3rd place, Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. Mindy, congrats to these 3 series. It is surreal to know that these 3 series I have actually read at one given point. I did go ahead and get Firefly Wedding. My library system has volume 2, but I have no idea when I'm going to get it, because typically, at least in the past, unless they've changed it, if you're an out-of-county member, it takes at least 6+ months for you to actually get a hold on it. It's just processing or something within the system itself, so I don't know when I'll be able to get it. But I can for sure tell you I'll be reading volume 1, and I don't really remember much of this. I do know I read some of it on Comic-Key when it first got licensed, so I'm excited to come back to this series. It's sort of coming back fresh for the first time, because again, I don't really remember. I mean, I remember like the beginning, the very beginning. I roughly remember that, but past that, no. And then Magical Girl Dandelion, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe it won. I can't believe it's in the top 3. I'm so excited, and I should have put that on my predictions. As you can see, I was 1 out of 3 correct. I really wanted it to win, but I was like, I don't think it can quite compete with these other really big series, but it did. And shout out to the fans that brought it all the way. And then for 3rd place, y'all, Reliving My Life. I mean, if somebody would have told me that these would win, I'd be like, no, this series can't compete the same way, but it is here and it is happening. It's funny because I was thinking the other day, so I think I've taken a picture and featured every single volume at some point on my Instagram, because I love this series. I have double dipped on it because I read volume 1 more than once and then got volume 2 and then decided to pass it off to a friend, but I was like, not because I disliked it, but I wanted them to read it, and I was like, oh, I'll be okay. No, I was not okay. I had to go back and rebought it. I think I did that around Christmas of last year, I believe. So I'm excited to come back to the series and actually do a formal review and have all the angst and my heart break all at one time. And yeah, I really hope that you are happy with these results. And I'm so sorry if the manga that you have been pushing for, encouraging, and hoping for did not make it to the top 3. I would love to say that I will read all of these that made it to round 3, but per the past 2 years, I have not been able to make it past reading 3 series at a time in a given month, because these I will be reading in the month of June. Looking at my calendar, June 13th, I'm gonna do things a little bit different. Since I only have the first volume of Firefly Wedding, I know I could buy volume 2, but I was like, well, knowing my library has it, I'm like, I want to hold off getting it because I don't remember how I felt about volume 1. I didn't think it was bad or anything, just as an FYI. So I'm gonna do like a first impression with Firefly Wedding and Magical Girl Dandelion. And if you're curious about what the third volume is, if you don't want to see it, I'll put the timestamp here so you can go ahead. But if you want to see the other third manga, I'll be reviewing during that video, despite that's not part of this event. And 1, 2, 3, that is volume 1 of Snow Angel. I am scared and terrified to read this, but I'm also very interested. I've heard very glowing, heartbreaking things about this volume 1. I hope it doesn't wreck me. So on June 13th, I'll be reviewing volume 1 of Snow Angel, Firefly Wedding, and Magical Girl Dandelion. Though I'll be honest, y'all, I already asked a friend of mine how many chapters are in volume 1, and she said 5, and we are on chapter 10. I said, I just don't know. We might be doing 2 volumes for that, but I will say I'll be doing all 3 of those for June 13th. And then on June 20th, I will have the review for Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited for all of these. And again, thank you so much to everybody who participated in this event by voting. You are awesome, friend. Thank you. I had so much fun. I hope you enjoyed seeing the breakdown of how each round went. And stay tuned for those reviews. I would get them up sooner, but next week I am doing the June Shoujo Save Release calendar, and then the week after that, the very first Friday, I'll be doing my May reading wrap-up. So yeah, it's gonna be in a really exciting June. I'm excited to come back to these series. Let me know, are you happy with the winning manga? Which manga did you want to win? And you're like, Laura, please, I'm begging you, go read this manga. Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!